Final hour overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Mark Giordano, Jamie Noodles, McLennan. We got Mike Johnson joining us in studio in just a moment. Joe Bowen, Jim Ralph from Scotiabank Arena coming up in about a half an hour. Game 2 on TSN Radio tonight. We got 4 games in the Stanley Cup playoffs, including an 11 p.m. Eastern time start. Minnesota-Vegas. 11
late?
p.m.
Who the hell put that one together?
I have never seen that before.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
So what time is it in Vegas? Is it 3 hours early?
Yeah, it's 8 p.m. prime time, but it's
Still.
10 p.m. in Minnesota. They're Central Time.
That's just,
I have never seen that before, an 11 p.m. scheduled start. We've seen 10:30, wink, wink, it's going to start at 10:49.
And yeah,
11 p.m. means 11:12 puck drop,
exactly.
which is crazy, man.
And,
It's on ESPN, and I think it's because Panthers Lightning is at 8:30. They're trying to stagger the games. It's all ESPN tonight in the States, where Devils Hurricane starts right now.
Even that one as a player, like the
6
Florida one?
o'clock start.
No, but the Florida
8:30.
one, like 8 o'clock was miserable. I hated playing 8, but we got them all the time.
What do you do? We talk about it all the time. With the Leafs, it's like you're playing 7 o'clock Eastern all the time. They get that prime spot. Second game, hockey night or whatever out in Alberta, that's 8 o'clock start. Like, did that change? Did you eat later? Did you do it? Like,
miserable, yeah.
Your nap was different, or you just killed?
You had too much time in the afternoon, so it's like you're antsy, right? Like you want to get to the rink and get going, and then you have an extra hour. So, guys loved it. Some guys loved sleeping, but I was like, I hated it.
You would have had a 5-hour nap.
Yeah, and we had so much time, and the worst part is being home a lot in Alberta, right? Your pregame skates so early.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You get to lunch at like 11, and then you have 9 hours till you play.
It's crazy.
You're right, though. Panthers Lightning's 8:30.
That's with your mojo
extra.
too.
Although they haven't played in, it feels like a week and a half either.
Okay, this is weird, but I used to tie my skates at a certain time.
Yeah.
Like you look at the clock, it's like, hey, it's 7 o'clock game. You're going out for warm up. You 12 minutes before warm up, you tie it. Like you have to adjust that timing,
right?
Like for warm up, tonight for that Florida Panthers game is going to be 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, it would.
Crazy.
It's 2 extra hours in the afternoon that you have to kill.
Right. And obviously ESPN is banking on one game into the next. They're all 2.5 hours apart, which is really dicey. If any of these games go into overtime, I don't think they'd delay the start. They'd probably just push it over to ESPN2 or whatever. Yeah. But there might be a slight delay.
Well, you got
that's another thing. 8:30 could be 8:46 or something like that. That's
think
late.
There's going to be overtimes here as the playoffs.
I mean, we saw 3 last night.
Right.
I thought I did see
or 2, almost 3 in Edmonton.
I thought I did see somewhere too. Like puck drop is 8:46 or 7 or.
They plan it. It's usually 17 minutes after. Unless you got a harmonica or whatever the hell that thing was.
The harmonica.
Did you see that, Gio? Or see it on?
I heard about it.
Electric last night, man.
So
How much did you bank on the anthem pumping you up?
Oh man, I mean it's a huge difference. Like you go to Chicago,
that's unreal.
You're jacked. You're shaking, and then some of them are tough, but.
Well, you think they would consider that the game ops?
So,
because some of the players, they were panning to the bench. There were a couple of players that were talking to themselves, and you could tell it's like, don't laugh, the camera's on me, just go. I got to play. It's game 1 tonight.
So my buddy sent this while we were playing.
The Koreatown Senior and Community Center were rocking the harmonica last night.
They announced them back by popular demand.
That's right. I heard that live.
That is insane.
They had played at some point during the season, and the place went nuts. And I'm sure the Kings won that night. And again, the Kings won last night. So I guess
they're going to be back for sure.
Jim Hiller, you're like, I guess you got to just bring.
Mikey Anderson's going, what the hell? What's going on here?
Well, like I said earlier, Jeff Skinner has been in the league for 15 years. He's never played in the playoffs. His first playoff experience is the harmonicas before puck drop.
Did you guys see Montgomery's off topic, but did you see him singing to the song on the bench?
Yes. During the timeout at the end of the game. It's 2-1. Monty's up there doing karaoke behind the bench.
He was singing behind the bench.
I missed that. We must have been putting together a panel or whatever.
I loved it.
But I don't know if you know Monty. Like, he's one of Hayes' favorites. I've known Monty for 100 years.
Look at this. 2-1. He's just... When it's your song, man.
He's like a savant. That's all I've ever heard. He's a really cerebral coach. I don't know if you've talked to guys that like most of the guys love him.
Yeah.
Like he's a player's coach, right? But really smart. Apparently he's a bit of a smart ass too, like really quick witted, and has got nicknames for guys and stuff. Like pretty funny guy.
2-1.
You take a look at what he's
2 minutes
done.
left.
2 minutes left. Singing behind the bench.
Take a look at what he's done though. Okay, Boston dropped the minute they thought he was the problem. They move him out. Boston does what they do. He goes to St. Louis and they take off.
Yeah.
Like he's a hell of a coach.
Yeah.
Now you have to have players to go with it, but I think he's done an unbelievable job.
Yeah.
Like I had to vote.
He's playing with house money right now.
Yeah, I had to vote the other day on the Adams, the Jack Adams. Like I looked hard at him.
Mm-hmm.
Like how can't you?
Oh, yeah.
That team seemed like they were gone. Like
They were going to trade everyone. Remember at the
Yeah.
deadline, they were thinking of trading guys, and
we had Army on. Remember, Army had admitted we had Doug Armstrong on.
Yeah.
He said 2 games before they had 2 pathways. Like we were looking at
Coming out of the Four Nations.
we lose these couple games, we might go this way or that way. They ended up winning, and he's like, we kept some players.
Mm-hmm. I think he made that clear. I think he said that coming out of the Four Nations. You guys, you got about 5 games here to tell me what's up, because if I have to move off you, I will.
Yeah.
And they came out of the gate really hot. They never slowed down. But now you look at Winnipeg, again, all year, they've just been a consistent juggernaut of a team. That's a big you're up 2-0 going down to St. Louis. That is so significant.
Well, now you, in your mind, don't you think you're going in there and go, if we can just get one.
Get a split here, we bring it home, and we're in great shape.
Yeah, and we're feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
You and I were talking off air, like, this Scheifele's found another level.
Oh,
like, I don't,
He's a big boy,
And
man.
the goalie after game 1, everyone started talking a little bit. He had a good game last game, so now it's like you're firing, but their depth is great.
Like Adam Lowry, like you look at that third line, if it was intact, because they've moved players around or whatever, but Lowry, Niederreiter, Appleton, like that's a hell of a third line. They've got a little bit of everything. Ehlers has been banged up, which is the weirdest injury. He ran into a line.
I know, but what was it? What happened there? Was it a knee or ankle?
I don't know if it was knee or ankle. I thought it was ankle. It looked like an ankle sprain.
I don't think he's going to play, though, in this
he's
series.
week to week.
Yeah, he's out.
Like that's one of the weirdest injuries you've seen, where he's just trying to stretch the play and he runs into the lineman.
Could you imagine last game before playoff? Oh my!
And they carry him off the ice.
Yeah.
Like
you knew it too, and he's had injury issues.
Yes,
the last few years.
But that team is deep. Their D. It took them a while to arrive. Stanley kid, that kid's an animal.
Yeah, that's a heavy series.
That
was a big hit last night, man. Yeah, well, and again, it's a segue into what we could expect tonight, where the Leafs can follow the lead of Winnipeg, because the Leafs have done a lot of winning the last month and a half, man. They came into the playoffs, I think, 13-2-1, their last 16 down the stretch. Now they won game 1. Like, you get that mojo going in the room.
Yeah.
Like, you get on a heater, you can feel it.
Yeah, and I was always one of those guys, like, you have to be feeling good going in. I know everyone's like, oh, it doesn't matter, and like you can turn it, but I was always one of those guys individually and as a team. I felt like if you like the teams that you feel like you can feel them rolling into playoffs. Like I remember the one year when Daryl was coaching LA, it was LA. Like they played us in Calgary, and we didn't have a chance. It was a 3-0 game. They just smothered us, and I'm like, wow, that team,
that's trouble.
And in St. Louis too, the one year we played them before Berube came in, and we beat them 5-1, and then the next time we played them, the same thing, and it was just like these guys are ready to win. Like you can tell.
That's crazy, but you can feel when you're playing against teams that are in a groove. You have to it might take something special that night to knock them out of the groove. If the goalie's that good, if the team is that deep, systematically too. That's the biggest thing too. Like. So if you're Ottawa and you're looking at a Leaf team that's been rolling and feels good about their game, if you're on the other side, you've got to find something to get them off their game or jar that momentum, jar that. But if you're a team that just continues to roll over, doesn't matter. Something bad happens, doesn't matter. Keep going. That's what good teams do, is they deal with some adversity. It doesn't matter. We're going to play this way. Like that's the interesting part. We had this... we were talking about McDavid. What night was more memorable? McDavid's night last night or Ovi's? And I said, well, it's Ovi's, but if McDavid's night rolls into tomorrow night and Edmonton ends up having a huge night, you can go, well, it started there and now this guy's gone, on a roll.
Mm-hmm.
But same thing. You look at this Leafs team, like if there was a list of everything that you wanted to hit the other night, they hit every marker.
Absolutely.
They got the goalie, they got the special teams, they got their star players going, they had their depth players going, the offense from the D, which they hadn't had.
A lot of positive mojo.
Right.
Like, again, I think them peaking at the right time, them playing the way they did down the stretch, I think them, going into Florida, beating Tampa, and then securing the 1 seed. Like, these are all just things, like, it's just a different type of process that they're going through. And I think night one, the fact that they won, the fact that you could breathe easy in the third period, I'm talking about the team, but also the fans.
Right.
It's I think it's very significant. And, the new guys showed up. Stolarz played well. Ekman-Larsson played well. Lawton played well. But also the star guys who have been here for a long time. Like, it's not lost on them, the pressure and the expectation. Matthews and Marner. And I think the fact that Mitch scored in the fashion that he did from Matthews, like, that's a big jolt, man. Like, because those guys need it. They need to avoid any bad, dark past thoughts
mojo type of thing
popping into your head. Just keep it rolling.
And to be honest, that's another reason why tonight's important. You know, you don't want the narrative to change after you had such a great night. You don't want it to change to, Ottawa got exactly what they wanted, a split in Toronto, right?
Right.
Now they're going back home and they're in the driver's seat. They got home ice advantage. Like, you want to keep all the positive momentum as much as you can. And from what I've seen all year is, like, they don't take their foot off the gas pedal very often, this team. That's what I've seen.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's, the approach that Berube is going to have tonight. And, I look at what to expect out of Ottawa. Like, it starts with Ullmark, and we've talked about that a lot the last 2 days.
Right.
Like, and there's nothing Travis Green can do. There's nothing, like, his teammates can help him out, right? And, like, not give up as many grade A opportunities, especially to the players that they did the other night. Like, Marner on a breakaway, Nylander right in the slot.
Try and play 5-on-5.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't give
smarten
up
up.
6 power plays where you're getting picked apart, and it's 9 seconds in every power play. It's in the back of your net. You're not even getting into a groove. Like you mentioned, maybe Ottawa comes with Hamonic, a more experienced defender, a guy who kills penalties, that types of stuff. But there was no groove for Ottawa. I think, like you said, I think they felt, maybe comfortable at 2-1, like they felt all right, but they were unable to get to that next level and continue on some momentum.
Right.
Well, the minute they got something, they got taken away.
100%. And Brady Tkachuk doesn't kill penalties, right? Like,
right.
I don't know if Stützle kills very often.
No.
Like, Toronto's top guys, Matthews and Marner, are on the ice and they kill. They're still getting on the ice and getting out there. Like, those penalties took Brady and those guys right out of the game, it felt like. That's what it felt like. I felt like Giroux, when do you ever see Giroux lose those draws clean like he did? And that sort of got into his head a little bit, that he lost 2 clean ones and they were in his net, right?
Exactly. Like, that's how that started, is one draw, get to middle ice, and that's it. It's in the back of the net. But if you have a 50-50 draw, now you got to go in and battle for the puck, and things take a little second or two to sort out. Yeah. You have to fight for that puck. There was no fight for that puck. It was a clean draw on the stick, play in the back of the net, and away you go.
And coaches they'll always say to you, like, don't let special teams affect your 5-on-5 play. Like, if you have a rough power play or a rough penalty kill, don't let it affect your overall game. But it does. Like, if you go out there and throw one up the middle on the PK and it's in the back of your net, you're thinking about it. Like, you go and you're like, oh, God. Or we got scored on 3 in a row. Like, it does affect your overall game. So I just think, like you said, Noodles, that's a good point. Like, they got right out of rhythm. They were in a little bit of rhythm. They started to come a little bit, and then they got right out of rhythm.
But Toronto did that to them, but they also did it to themselves with the lack of discipline.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, the game, I just think it'll be a different game tonight. It might be the standard from the ref might be different, and they'll have to adjust to that, both sides. Because regardless, like we were talking about it yesterday, both coaches were politicking in their media. You know, Chief was kind of, backhand, hey, we're going to go look at the Greg.
Go talk to the league about Ridley Gregg.
And you know what Greeny was saying, hey, we thought they sold a couple things. And so that's at the micro level. The macro level is the GM and the president are screaming at the league, going, watch this, and making the league watch these plays.
Well, and I think that's important. That I would guess Ottawa isn't just looking for it to be even. They're looking for an advantage.
Well, of course.
Tonight. Like, they're saying, we wouldn't mind 6 tonight and give the Leafs 2 or 3. That doesn't mean it's going to play out that way. And listen, the Leafs can dictate that. How disciplined you play, how often you have the puck, what you do when you're in a situation like that. But, the first goal, goes without saying, is so significant, I think, tonight. And for Ottawa in particular.
Well,
they've got to get on the board because this building is going to erupt tonight again if the Leafs score first.
Their record is really, during the regular season, I'm quoting it wrong, but like 33-6 and whatever when they score first,
right,
and not good the other way. The other thing is when Shane Pinto scores, they were like 19-0-2.
So there's your guy.
Something crazy.
Try to shut down Shane Pinto
but just
tonight.
Like weird
the
things.
Leafs.
Like
simple game plan.
Obviously, being on a regional broadcast, you pull nuggets and stuff like that. But when you're watching the Toronto Maple Leafs in building your game plan, there are certain markers that you have to hit to try and slow things down. That'll be the challenge for the Senators, and vice versa. I think the Leafs are going to they might even have a different approach into tonight's game.
All right, game 2 tonight. Mike Johnson will join us. We'll get Joe Bowen, Jimmy Ralph. We'll get to our best bets later in the hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, best bets later in the hour. We got 4 games in the Stanley Cup playoffs, including game 2 of the Battle of Ontario, Leafs Sens. And here's a man that's very familiar with the Battle of Ontario. I believe your first playoff experience, Mike Johnson, with us. Was that your first play, or were you?
No,
who did you play with?
I played in '99. We made the conference final before we got to Ottawa.
Okay.
I was traded in 00 for Darcy Tucker.
Yes, he was down there waving
the king
to everybody.
of the Battle of Ontario. So
yeah.
I left a couple months before the first one, so I never played against Ottawa specifically.
Did you talk to your boy Tux at the game the other day?
No, he's a big shooter down there, man. You can't bother him.
Yeah.
He's down there. They gave him the full welcome back. I text him. I go, welcome back from what? You're in Toronto all the time. Welcome back, Darcy.
Yeah, welcome back.
He came in.
Welcome back from Etobicoke? What are you talking about?
Where were you? Where have you been? But he was. They did a great job the other night. I said that. The game offs, it was, they had Dougie out there, they had Darcy, they had Rick Five. They did a really good job with panning the crowd. It was just a really, really quality night.
Could you tell that there was more energy in the building? A lot of people, Gio, you played playoffs here recently. I played here a long time ago. That the building gets criticized. The fans get criticized for not being excitable enough, loud enough, into it enough. Could you tell last night that it was different than years past?
I thought it was one of the best crowds I've experienced down there.
That's what I heard.
And my theory is, well, for starters, it was a Sunday, which is big, long weekend. But my theory is it is about the Battle of Ontario. That, like, Gio, you're talking about it, like when the Leafs are playing Boston, there's some bad mojo there, man. Like, I think Leaf fans walked into the building past years kind of like bracing for impact and like it's Boston again and they're going to get burned, or if it was Tampa, it would be different, or Florida. You have a lot of confidence against Ottawa.
Right.
Like, that's just a reality. And I think Leaf fans are like, I'm embracing something different and I'm embracing something I'm familiar with. It's actually been very successful 20 years ago, but still, nonetheless.
You also said Sunday night, so all those Bay Street people who have
it'll
tickets,
be different tonight.
They're wearing jeans and they're like it's an off night. Like
they're not,
I always
not
felt like, and I've been invited by guys who are venture capital and all of that type. And it's like, hey, we're going to go to this club. I'm like, I didn't even know there was a restaurant there.
Oh, yeah.
And all the games on the TV. We're literally having dinner, watching it on TV. I'm like, our seats are right there.
Yeah.
But I don't sense that. That's not going to happen tonight, but it is.
I hope not.
They're
I mean,
working at Bay Street today,
it's
right?
Big opportunity for them to carry over what happened the other night. And a lot of the renovations are done down there, too.
Yeah.
Like the self-serve stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's the new era of technology. Well, you tap your card, you go in, and you leave, and it just...
So you can get back to your seat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, there's no lines or anything.
Well,
like,
they are. They have it a lot of rinks around the league, like that Climate Pledge. That's all. You walk in Seattle, it's all self-serve. You just don't see anybody. You just walk in.
It throws you off, though.
Well, but I laugh because I think there's a bunch of creeps in there that just start loading stuff in and walk out or whatever.
Well, they'll find out when that visa bill comes in. You actually got caught.
Well, now you travel a lot. Have you been in the airport once?
Yeah.
Where you tap on the way in.
Yeah.
Just grab whatever you want. You don't tap on the way out.
That's what this is.
And just okay, that's
That's what this is. I walked in, I bought popcorn and a Diet Coke. And I left, and I'm like,
that's it?
What happened?
That's
it? You feel like you stole it?
I did.
Until you look at your visa, and there's $412 on it.
Exactly. Well, and that's what's coming. Like, people are going to file complaints.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about that. Like, they're going to challenge it, and it's like, dude, we saw you. We have the video of you walking out with that stuff.
Yeah, there's literally...
Sure, you grabbed the popcorn and Diet Coke.
Yeah, right,
sure
exactly.
you did, Hayes.
Exactly.
Sure.
The Diet Coke and the popcorn. So tonight, where do you start? Like when you're looking at a game like tonight, do you start with the Leafs? Do you start with the response from Ottawa? Like where does your head go first preparing for tonight?
I mean, I think you instinctively turn to the team that lost. What are they going to do different? They don't want to repeat what they did last game. They don't like the result there. So immediately you go, will Ottawa not take so many penalties? Because if Ottawa can play 52 minutes of the game at 5-on-5, they'll like their chances better than what they saw in game one. So how do they do that? I don't know if it's less physical. Maybe it's just more disciplined. And then the other part, so that's Ottawa trying to make their adjustments. And the other part for me, and I think Toronto has every reason to be excited. Best player scored goals. Power play found the back of the net. Things that don't happen easily. Won a game where it wasn't stressful. I mean, you lived the last like it's so stressful watching Toronto play in the playoffs. It wasn't game one. But I don't know if John Tavares' line had a good game.
And they flipped that. Holmberg's in, Domi's
The fact
out.
that they changed guys halfway through the game, they moved Domi down and Holmberg up, tells you that Craig Berube recognized we weren't loving what we were getting at those guys 5-on-5. And we weren't loving what we were getting from Holmberg and McMahon and Robertson at 5-on-5. So my mind kind of goes there. If it is played less on the special teams or they don't score on the power play, what will a 5-on-5 play look like for Toronto? Will their best players who didn't get a lot of looks at 5-on-5, will they get them tonight?
Yeah, I think it's interesting what I anticipate Ottawa's looking for. Like we were talking about this prior to you coming on, that there's been this focus on 5-on-5, but I think they probably want an advantage in the power plays tonight. Like that's what they're leaning on the league for, right? Is flip it and give it 6-3 in our direction.
Well, Travis was trying hard, right?
He was
trying hard.
You could try anything you want.
Yeah,
but, I mean,
exactly.
It's two different refs tonight. You know,
Refs are human. They heard the clips.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying the penalties were unjustifiably favoring Toronto. Like it was appropriate in game one. But let's just say it was 10-1 in favor of Toronto, and you're like, what? The next game, even with different refs, you're like, probably won't be 10-1 again.
No.
Right? Like that's the way human nature works.
Yeah. I was telling Gio off air, it's Gordy Dwyer and Pierre Lambert. Gordy's a veteran.
Veteronis, both of them.
Veteran guys. They're not going to get overwhelmed by the situation. Like Gio was a captain. He yelled at a lot of refs. And
I always tell the young guys, like, you want to stay away from yelling at refs when you're young because they carry it for the rest of their career. So any 50-50 call, it's going against you if you're giving it to them all the time when you're young. Yeah. But, yeah, for tonight, I wonder if Greener, though, tries to hard match against Matthews and gets Stützle away from them. Like, I wonder if he throws that, that Pinto line?
They'd like to get Pinto, ideally.
Like, I wonder if he goes at that a little bit harder. The penalties, like, ruined their flow last game.
Yeah.
I think he couldn't get there, but I wonder if we see that more tonight. Because definitely when they get to Ottawa, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, it costs them a lot of ice time, too. Their top pair had 15 minutes, 16 minutes, or their top line. I mean, and I would expect you're going to play your best players into the ground tonight.
Yeah, and those guys don't sniff the PK ever. Like, you can't be like, oh, we're killing a lot of penalties.
Right.
Let's put Timmy out there. Let's put Brady out there. Like you could with Auston and Mitch when they didn't do it regularly. Like, they were proficient enough, you could keep them in the game as opposed to, like, you're going to sit there for 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And nothing else. Where those guys, Claude Giroux takes faceoffs and kills penalties, but those two guys, they don't. Then they won't.
Yeah, and it's an interesting mix. Like in Toronto, there's no one making their playoff debuts. You know what I mean? Like the big boys are just they've got a lot of experience. Where in Ottawa, it's different. Where like Tkachuk and Pinto and Stützle and Shabbat and Sanderson, these guys have no playoff experience. And I was intrigued by that the other night because you mentioned talking with the refs, and like Brady was talking to the ref a lot, but Giroux it was constant. Like Claude Giroux would not stop talking with the refs and the linesmen, and he was chirping all night. And I thought Perron was doing it as the night went on. I think Cousins might draw in. And you've said this a million times this year. Like they brought in Cousins, they brought in Amadio, they brought in Perron because they've been winners. Yeah. Drew hasn't won a cup, but he's been around for a long time. Like I'm curious, Johnny, and we can all go around the table on this. Like, would you look at it thinking, okay, Tkachuk, Stützle, Pinto, let's say they got to lead the charge. Cousins playing his second playoff game, or would you, if you're Green, do you think it's more reasonable to expect your veterans to play better than they did in game one because they have the experience and they're supposed to?
The veteran, I mean, it won't matter if, respectfully, I love David Perron, but if David Perron plays a bit better, it's not going to make them win. What the veterans will be there to do is help guide the younger guys and help them play better. Because the younger guys, the guys you mentioned initially, Stützle, Brady, Jake Sanderson. Those are the guys that are going to make them win or lose. What they do in the game, not what Perron or Nick Cousins do or Claude Giroux. So maybe they can help them stay calm, stay composed, not get riled up with the refs. Although, Claude Giroux, he runs hot.
Yeah, he does.
Like, he is a volatile guy on the bench.
Yeah.
Like, he is screaming at himself and at the linesman in, like, not a negative way. He runs hot.
Fiery guy.
He's a fiery guy. So, but I think Travis has to look to his best players. And I thought Drake Batherson was actually very good.
Say probably
very
their best
good.
player was Batherson.
Yeah, he played well.
He's had a really good season for them. Like, he was a guy, you played against him. Like, he's a guy, for me, skilled, but hadn't put it all together. I think this year he put it together because he competes a lot harder on pucks. Yeah. He can be physical. He's fast. I don't know what you make of him. Like, he's...
Yeah, I think he scored a hat trick the one game against us one year. I can't remember if it was in Toronto or if I was in Calgary, but I always looked at him as like a highly skilled guy with a really good shot. And, on the power play especially, I found like on that flank, he'd come down and rip a couple by you. But I agree. I thought he was their best forward.
Yeah.
You know, I thought their top guys just got put out of rhythm. Like, they just couldn't get there because they were like, when you're used to playing 19, 20, and then all of a sudden you play 15, it affects you. And like, I went through that in my career at the end, like playing 25, 24 minutes, and then you get cut down right to like 16, 17 minutes. It's like, you're sitting on the bench sometimes, you're like, man, I'm getting cold, dry.
My last year in St. Louis, I played, I don't know, same thing, 17, 18 minutes a night to 10. You're like, I'm not even in this game at all. I am strictly a spectator.
Like, you go to get your legs.
I'm a spectator with a good seat.
And you hear your coach skipping your line.
Yeah, you're like,
okay, all right, that's an offensive
and then he's
zone.
like, all right, go give us some energy. I'm like, I got nothing to give.
Nothing.
There's no energy.
Getting pulled off on an ozone draw, right? Like,
right.
Used to playing power play all my life and putting up numbers, and then you're pulling me off the ozone draw. It's like, what?
We got an icing ball here. Leave me out, please. All right, Johnny, we'll catch you on the panel tonight.
Yeah.
What do you guys got cooking
This is
tonight?
the game.
This
is the game. It's going to be a series that's going to be tight and tense and long, or Toronto's going to win.
Yep.
Toronto's never had a 2-0 series lead in all the years with these guys, 9 years, whatever it's been, which is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
And so we'll see. I think they're going to have to, if Toronto's going to win, they're going to have to win in a tight game.
Feels that way.
A game that makes them a little uncomfortable, which will be a great test. And if they can't, then they're in it for the long haul.
They keep saying they've been learning lessons for a long time.
If they're different, we'll find out tonight.
Let's apply
maybe
them
they
tonight.
Are, maybe they're not.
Game 2 tonight on TSN Radio. Good seeing you, Johnny. Thanks
boys.
for coming in.
Yeah.
There he is, Mike Johnson.
Same birthday as Gio. That's why I always remember.
Is that right?
Not the same year, but clearly.
Not far off, man.
No.
Not far off. Mark Giordano sticking around until 7. We'll head down to the rink next. Joe Bowen, Jimmy Ralph coming up to tee up Game 2. We'll do that next. All right, we'll get to our best bets later in the hour. Game 2 tonight, Battle of Ontario, Leafs Sens, right here on TSN Radio. It's going to be electric tonight. It was electric the other night. It was some great calls. Like, great calls. Bonesy, Ralphie. Ralphie left Bonesy hanging. Did you see that the other night?
Oh.
Yes, so they had, I guess, a camera in the studio.
Yes.
And on Marner's goal, unbelievable pass, unbelievable goal. Bonesy with just a typical Joe Bowen call.
Yeah, great call.
Looks over at Ralphie. They make eye contact. Bonesy finishes his call. He looks over, throws his hands up, and Ralphie leaves him hanging.
No high five?
No high five. And
Really?
they posted that, I think, on the
Well, we
Maple
got to
Leaf,
get to the bottom of that.
Yes.
Maybe there was...
Ralphie owes him tonight.
Or maybe, was it the trailer hit? Like, one high five,
I
one
think
fist
Bonesy would have been
bump,
happy with that, although I don't think they were complaining about anything. It was great.
No.
It was a great night, Sunday night, and we carry it over to tonight. Here we go with the boys, Joe Bowen and Jimmy Ralph. I guess we'll start with you, Ralphie. What happened there? How could you leave Bonesy hanging like that?
Well, Joe has the camera on his side, and I have a mirror on my side, and we were both just playing to our strengths.
Not till after the series for Ralphie. It was my bad. I didn't
even realize it.
Backed it off a bit. That's okay.
After.
That's all right. We're all good.
You don't high five after every goal or anything?
No, we don't. No.
Okay.
No.
I used to I don't know about you, Noodles. I used to high five after every save. Didn't get real good at it.
Yeah. But you had to appreciate the good times, right, Ralphie? You make a big stop. Someone better celebrate that.
Yeah, I was the first goalie to go by the bench after.
And they disallowed that because the game's Well, they didn't really take any longer.
Right.
It just seemed bad taste, that's all.
Absolutely. Well, I guess it's early. The game still doesn't start for another hour, but I thought it was a great night the other night, and here we go tonight. What are you guys expecting? Bonesy, you can take it from here. What do you hope to see out of the Leafs early tonight?
Well, I was out at Maple Leaf Square, and I'm absolutely stunned on how many people have caught up in the excitement of bringing a fanny pack to the rink. And I think it's a great, and they've got the picture of you on it, and it's a big sales item out there. So they got that going for them.
Good. They should.
Absolutely. It's a time to make hay here, and we were both very impressed and happy with the way the crowd reacted. We have been critical of them, and they took it to another level, and it was a lot of fun to be a part of. The team fed off of it. There was certainly a lot of physicality in the hockey game, and the Leafs found a way to get pucks to the net, and on the power play it was ridiculous. So everything that Craig Berube has been preaching through the 82 games, I think we saw very much in evidence in the first 60 minutes of this series. Now, will Ottawa be better tonight? Yes, absolutely. Will they be more disciplined? Well, certainly Travis Green hopes that they will, and that will make for a much tighter game, and I'm sure that's what we'll see here this evening.
Ralphie, in terms of Anthony Stolarz making his first playoff start, that was another one. You talk about checking all the boxes. I thought he was great. In the second period, he was outstanding. Probably didn't love the first goal he gave up. He had it, kind of fumbled the rebound, but you couldn't bounce back any better than the way he did. Could you find anything that you could possibly poke at that would make you feel anything but optimistic about what could happen tonight with Stolarz?
I thought maybe a little bit of nervousness, rebound control in the first period, and that did lead to the first goal against. But that's really trying to go through it with a fine-tooth comb to find anything wrong. I think if you want to look for the turning point of the game, and we can talk about the power play and everything else, but if Brady Tkachuk ties the game on a breakaway in the second period, and Ottawa comes back to make it 2-2, that could have changed. That could have gone right to the legs of the Senators, and Leafs might have been fighting it a bit. So I think I've always said that where goaltenders become great are guys that may not be 100% on their game. It can still be a reason you win it because he battles through. So I just thought his battle, and there were a couple of shots through screens that he was able to pick up and kick out as well. But I think he's going to get better as the playoffs go on as well.
What did you make of the guy at the other end of the rink?
I thought Anthony Stolarz, Noodles, was really good. You want me to go there?
What about Linus Ullmark?
Yeah, I think
not so good.
I think it was. I did watch the highlights of the last game Ottawa played against Carolina, and there were a lot of goals like that where it was just one-on-one that Ullmark got beat. And Noodles, I know you notice this as much as I do. When guys struggle, it's butterfly and elbows in. And you don't move to where's the puck's going. You just hope that your positioning gets you through. Sort of the opposite of what we were saying about Anthony Stolarz. So I think for Ullmark, when he's on his game, he's moving. His positioning is good, but he's moving to where the puck's going instead of just trying to get big and bring the knees in and the elbows close to the body to take up a lot of space. So that's going to be a key. I mean, I know his playoff numbers haven't been great, but we've seen him enough throughout his career that he's certainly capable of turning it around.
Absolutely. With Jim Ralph, Joe Bowen ahead of Game 2 tonight. Leafs Sens right here on TSN Radio. Bonesy, you've called all of their playoff games, the core four, and Matthews, Marner, Nylander in particular. They're into year 9. They go to the playoffs every single year. But, man, did they show up the other night. They all got on the game sheet. How significant do you think that is as we roll into Game 2? The fact that not only they won, and they won running away, but all the big boys showed up and they all contributed the way that they did.
Well, it certainly can't hurt, that's for sure. And I think the one thing that we saw in Game 1 was everything that was preached by Craig Berube through the course of the regular season. They were physical. The fourth line may have been the best line on the ice in the game. They spent it almost entirely in the offensive zone. They were taking the body. The defense was physical. When things got pushed to shove at the end of the game, there was no backing down. In fact, it just escalated even more so on the Leafs side. And I think that has to give them a great deal of confidence and feel a lot better about their game. Now, getting that under their belt early in this series has got to be nothing but beneficial to everyone that is under the gun and under the microscope here in Toronto to get through this and get through a number of rounds. So it was a good start for them, because if the fourth line had scored all 6 goals and they hadn't gotten even a sniff, then everybody would have been still focusing on them, right? So I think that under the circumstances, it had to be very beneficial for everyone's psyche, the way the game went and the way the scoreboard looked at the end of the score sheet looked at the end of the end of the hockey game.
Absolutely, and again, it was a runaway, and there were a lot of penalties, and at the end of the game, it got a little bit crazy. And Ottawa, Ralphie, you would assume they know they have to be more disciplined tonight, but they're still a young team and they're up against it. If the Leafs get on the board early tonight, if Ottawa ends up in the box a couple of times in the first period, what are you expecting in terms of the body language? Because I was there on Sunday, and I was surprised. They were unraveling. You could see it with Ottawa. Do you think it's as easy as just preaching you can't do that anymore? Or do you think you might see that happen again tonight with Ottawa, considering this is kind of uncharted territory for them?
Yeah. Well, you know what, Hayes? I think the challenge for Ottawa is stay aggressive without taking the penalties. You don't want all of a sudden say, okay, we can't go in as hard to the boards. We can't finish our checks. We've got to be more disciplined and not be physical. And that's, something they might have to fight in the first 5 or 10 minutes. But, when you're talking about regardless how this game goes, and I know Hazy and Noodles, you'll remember the 93 series between Detroit and Toronto. Mm-hmm. Red Wings won the first 2 games in Detroit by blowouts. But the Leafs won every 1-goal game in that series. Even Detroit won game 6, 7-3. So even, as this series goes on and the Leafs are expected to be the favorite, I mean, it's still going to be a grind. And one of the things I did like, and you might expect it, but from Craig Berube and the players, they all said to a man, it's going to get harder from now on. Yeah. We expect them to be better. And when you saw the post-game clips, there was nobody acting like they'd won anything. It was just, the first step, and hopefully what is going to be a long trail for them. So I think from a Leaf standpoint, being able to manage their own emotions and maybe push Ottawa to the point that, the frustration starts showing up in different ways.
Bonesy, one of your great calls, of course, was when Darcy Tucker jumped into the bench, and Travis Green was the one that instigated that. What's it like calling playoff games with Greeny now behind the bench for the other team in the Battle of Ontario?
Gooch, as we used to call him back then. It is a little different, although it's nice to see Daniel Alfredsson's face amongst the folks back there, too. He had enough to do in these series with the Leafs and Senators back there in the 90s or in the 2000s. It is a little different. But you know what? This team reminds you a lot of that group. The Corsons, the Tuckers, the Domies, they were physical, they were ornery, and they were nasty. And you add Gary Roberts to that mix as well. So this group reminds me a lot of that team in the way it's made up. And the star players are there, but the support staff are a miserable bunch of SOBs, and that's the way they play, and that's exactly what Tucker. Now, I wouldn't suggest it's a great idea to jump into the bench and take on all comers. That might be a tad bit. Maybe they better get Adam Copeland, who does a pump-up tape for the Leafs, to be the guy to go in there first. He's more experienced in the squared circle to handle that kind of mayhem. But I don't think that's a really good idea at any time.
No, I wouldn't suggest it is. And I don't anticipate that happening tonight. But
has anybody ever asked Darcy what exactly was going through your mind when you decided to go in there? I mean,
Well,
his
great
eyes
question.
had to have rolled in the back of his head.
Because I think he got a 5-game suspension for that.
Yeah,
It's
something,
like, which, today it would be 50
100.
games.
They'd have to shut the league down.
They would shut the league down if someone did that. Absolutely. It would be very different.
Although the cross-check on John Tavares went somewhat unpunished. So, hey, you know what? It ebbs and flows depending on what the situation is. But I suggest jumping into the bench and trying to get at the coach or whatever is probably not a great idea.
Probably not the best idea. But that's why they play the games. We'll see what comes of it tonight. Game 2 on TSN Radio. He is Joe Bowen, Jim Ralph with the call. Gentlemen, have a great one tonight. Thank you for doing this. We'll do it again soon.
You bet.
Thanks, boys.
There is Bonesy and Ralphie. And what's crazy about that clip is that there were some of the coaches for Ottawa who were not really getting involved, but their faces were like close
right in the mix
to where Tucker was and Green was, and you can see like Pat Quinn's thinking, if I have to come over there, I will come over there. And like we had Travis Green a couple months ago, and we joked about this clip and so what would happen if that happened tonight? And he's like, well, I'm not taking on cheap.
Yeah, we're
like
not
if Berube comes
Berube,
over,
yeah.
No, thank you. And I'm sure Jacques Martin would probably say the same thing about Pat Quinn.
Well, you look over there and see that head.
Pat Quinn back in the day.
That is so big. Like he's like a mascot on the other side. Like Pat Quinn was a massive
huge, tough
massive
as nails too, back in the day. From Hamilton, Ontario.
Well, he got 5 games for that.
Yeah, he did. I think that was a regular season game.
Well, even the other night,
he got 5
with the cross check, and then Chief doing the 5, but his fingers aren't straight.
Some of them don't go straight.
It looked like a Bond villain. Like he was standing there like a claw. You're like, what is going on?
What, should we give him a 3-minute penalty?
What is the refs going? How many fingers are you holding up? What's going on here? There's one that's sideways.
Yeah.
And like,
what are you asking for? 2.5, 3? What are we supposed to give this guy? And we'll see. I mean, Greg, he didn't skate yesterday. I don't think he was a part of it was an optional, I guess, today. But I don't know. We'll
thought it said. I thought I read Masters tweeted out that Greg and Jensen were game time were available tonight, but maybe game time decisions or didn't skate this morning.
So maybe he's coming out because Jensen's a really good player, one of the really good defensemen. But he's been hurt. He's been hurt, right?
He's been hurt down the stretch,
and he didn't play very well last game.
Well, him and Shabbat didn't play well. Yeah. That pairing struggled. Sanderson is a hell of a player.
Yeah.
It just I didn't think he was able to get anything going either because they were just defending all the you talked about rhythm, and there was no rhythm because he was either on the PK or trying to battle at 5-on-5. But it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, Jensen and Shabbat didn't have their A games last game.
Right.
And then that bottom pairing, Cleven's a nice player. He's a long player. He's a young kid. But and then that Matt and Paulo. So I'd be surprised if, I think Hamonic will come in for Matt and Paulo. Mm-hmm. So you'll see a young kid with Hamonic, a veteran.
With Shabbat? Do you think Shabbat will play with Hamonic? Or do you think Hamonic will be on the third pair?
I think Shabbat and Jensen will play. Mm-hmm. I think Jensen will play, but it'll be Sanderson, Zub, Shabbat, Jensen, Cleven with Hamonic. That's what I would think.
And have Hamonic kill penalties. And it sounds like Nick Cousins will go in tonight. We'll see who
Cousins in for Highmore. That's what I would, unless Greg can't go.
Unless for whatever reason, he gets hurt or something. I mean, Holmberg got him the other night. We didn't really talk about it, but Pontus Holmberg got him.
Yeah.
And then Cousins kind of went after Holmberg. And
Dylan Cousins.
Cousins. I said Nick Cousins the other night. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but I've done that 25 times. I'm like, Cousins, Dylan Cousins, Nick Cousins. I'm like, it's confusing. They don't even spell the name the same way.
No. Yeah.
Anyway, today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm on a first period goal in the first 10 minutes. I think there will be a goal in the first 10 minutes tonight. I think Nick Robertson, 2+ shots in 60 minutes tonight, and Auston Matthews, 4+ shots in 60 minutes of play tonight. That parlay paying plus 450. Those are your best bets. Powered by FanDuel. Live same-game parlays are now available for every Stanley Cup playoff game on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly, 19+, physically located in Ontario. Okay, the pregame's coming up on TSN Radio. We're going to have full post-game coverage. The panel will be on. I'm down at the rink. I'll be on SportsCenter tonight. Gio, it's great seeing you, man. Thanks for coming in.
Stuff, Gio.
Appreciate you doing this. It was a blast to see you. We'll have to do this whenever. The open door policy. Whenever you're around, you want to pop in. Yeah. We love having you. It's great to see you. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.